So, this is the 8BitDo Ultimate 2 wireless controller. Now, I know if you look at my channel, my last video was nearly half a year ago more, about another 8BitDo controller, but I am an unbiased, independent perspective reviewer. I wouldn't even call myself a reviewer, but I am in no way affiliated with 8BitDo. I just wanted to try this controller out, and of which I find it to be better than the Ultimate 3 mode. So hopefully you didn't decide to buy that, and if you did, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that controller. It is still a very good controller, albeit it's better now with the price being down, but I think for the same value, this controller is much better. I do want to say, at the time of this recording, which is April 5th, let me pull it up, on Amazon, this controller has both a 4.2 and then 4.5, because for some odd reason there's two versions of the controller despite it seeming like the same thing, and they're the same price as well. One, just for some reason I got this one, which took like 2 weeks to get to me, compared to the other one, which is like, I guess it's like in the warehouse on the East Coast or something, because they get it delivered right away. So really odd. I don't know why there are two of the same things on Amazon, but there are. So without further ado, this is going to be an unboxing portion, and then probably halfway wherever, if you look down there, there's going to be a chapter for review, and then at the end, like, comparison with this thing, which I mained until this thing got released, and then like final conclusion. So yeah. So I've actually already used this controller, and I find it to be a better value than the 3 mode because of a few features. Now, as you can see on here, it is Windows and Android compatible, at least officially. I don't know the specifications on if it can work with other forms of connectivity, but yeah. So, and then there's a USB-C cable in. As I said, I did already use this controller. I actually bought it when it released, or when I was able to purchase, for a full price of what, $60, and then occasionally on the Amazon, it'll go down to $43. So I was like, well, I could save like $12 by just returning it and then buying it again when it's like, you know, a little cheaper, which I did, and so that's why I'm unboxing it again here. But this is the controller. The only differences between this and the previous Ultimate are RGB rings around thumbsticks. I think it's just a ploy. It's a gimmick. Extra like bumper buttons that can be assigned to macros and whatnot. Hairpin triggers built in, which is really nice. And then these two buttons, I don't know. And then it's a better D-pad compared to the first the ultimate normal first one. It's not as mushy, I guess, in comparison, but it's definitely not as tactile as the Xbox 8BitDo controller, and both of them aren't as tactile as the just a normal Xbox controller. But yeah, let's get those out of the way. And I guess it's time to actually get into the review. So I use this controller, I probably have 10-ish hours on it so far. Just purely, you know, trying it out. And I've played Cuphead, because that's just my go-to game with a controller. I've played the new 33 Immortals, which is really nice with the controller. I've also played Fury with this controller, and I can't tell quite exactly, but either I can sense 3 milliseconds difference between this controller, which is boxed up and it's in there, or a lower latency. There is a genuine lower latency that is just something you can't really test at home. And latency is different from polling rate, because latency is the actual time between the first input, rather than polling rate is just how often it refreshes, right? So there's still a latency between when you move or do an action and then the computer actually recognizing it. Compared to polling rate, it's just how often it refreshes after that first movement deal. Or not even the first movement, but like subsequent movements when it can actually register. Okay, so what else do I really say? Here, let me turn it on so you can see what the controller looks like. I just have a long USB-C cable, which I would recommend, because the supplied cable isn't very long unless your computer is wherever you're gonna put the dock is close to your computer, or if you just use it Bluetooth, then it doesn't really matter. But I would suggest using the dongle, which is also different. It is now USB-C compared to, we can focus, the USB-A, or the 2.4 gigahertz receiver. Sorry, I'm clearing my throat a lot for some reason. Right. So apart from the new features, the inside hardware apparently did change. Apparently they are different sticks. They're both still Hall effect, but these are called what, TMR sticks. I really don't know the difference. I don't know too much on controllers. I just know keyboards and computers. So I'm out of my league to really talk about the sticks themselves. But the inside hardware did change, so that, like I was referencing earlier, this thing now supports 1000 hertz polling rate, which is, i.e., how many times it refreshes. Yeah, with this controller and with a normal Xbox controller, the polling rate is 400, and so therefore it is, or not 400, what, 250? So therefore it's a 4 millisecond cycle or period between each refresh, right? And with 1000, it's literally 1 millisecond between each refresh cycle. So yeah, Um, apart from that, there's really no difference between this Xbox controller and the older Ultimate. It does use a different software. I think it uses the actual normal software compared to this one, which uses the Microsoft version. And in the side of the software, you can just, you know, do the normal macro buttons and then also tune the lights, which I think is also a button. Yeah, it's the star. As you can see, there's RGB lights, and when you actually actuate the sticks, the RGB lights turn on. It's literally a gimmick though. I see no advantage, I guess, in using these. It's just cool lights. But yeah, everything else is normal. And as I have been overall just keeping an eye on the reviews on Amazon, a lot of the original, like within the first week, this controller was actually around 3 stars, and most of it came down to either not being compatible with the Switch anymore, which is really disappointing. I personally don't have a Switch, but I mean, 8BitDo kind of went into the market of the Switch controller alternatives and actually was a good choice. But for some reason, this thing isn't compatible. At least not officially. Maybe if you do some tweaking or something, I don't know. You know, as I said, I don't have a Switch. But yeah, this thing is only Windows and Android officially supported, and with Windows and with both platforms, you can use the 2.4 gig adapter dongle or just pair it with Bluetooth. Other than that, there's really no difference. Some people did report poor quality control for instance. My first 8BitDo Ultimate 2 that I returned to then get this one at the same time didn't have any defects, so I don't know. So at least for my 2 times with this controller, I don't have anything bad. Okay, so I'm looking at 1-star reviews, and apparently it's not good for Mac gaming. Does not support 2.4 wireless connection on Apple equipment. Apparently there's a major flaw with the sticks. Apparently there's some circuitry issue, but yeah. Out of most of the 1-star reviews, which there are only, at least from the US, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 1,426 global ratings, either it's due to poor connectivity, i.e. now only supporting Windows and Android, or poor quality control. Which, well, as you can see in front of me, it doesn't seem so. And this comes into now the actual review, or not review, but testing, right? Okay, so 7% error. So I don't know about that review on Amazon. I think they just had a bad controller, which is kind of outrageous because, well, in general, there should never be any quality issues with something by 8BitDo. With being a company that's trying to really strive within the market, competing against actual Nintendo, this controller should not, you know, have any defects if it wants to keep the reputation it has. So yeah, apart from that, I will now do the polling rate tests. Bam. 1.96. 226 repeating. Okay, so with these numbers in mind, we see that there is an advantage playing wired, basically just consolidating the max latency or max deviance from actually 1,000 polling, but it's negligible between 3.6 and roughly 2, right? It's a millisecond and a half almost difference, so it's a little, you know, in that case I find it that slim difference isn't too big, but in relevancy to this thing, 4 milliseconds versus 1 millisecond is different, right? When the fastest this thing can be is 4 refreshes, 1 refresh per 4 milliseconds, versus this thing is 1 millisecond per 1 millisecond, 1 refresh per 1 millisecond. You know, it's different, right? The difference between this, if at worst it's still better than this, you know. Yeah, so those are the numbers for the chart, and now comparison time, right? So originally I bought this at launch price, which was like $70. For that price point, it was fair. I wouldn't have said it was a good deal, but it's better than getting an Xbox controller. Now being it at what, on par or lower than the Ultimate 2, it fares much better, I believe. For instance, like I said, Ultimate 2 sits at $60, 70, you know, $69.99. Now this thing sits at $62.48. Okay, but it goes on sale regularly for $59.49, and at its lowest $46.89. So for $50, I think this is fair price. I think this is fair game if you're affiliated or accustomed to the Xbox layout, or if you are going to use it with an Xbox, then this is I mean, you really have no choice, right? But if you're playing PC, I would highly recommend getting the Ultimate 2 over this thing. This thing, the only pure advantage I would say that this thing has is just a more clicky D-pad. Other than that, there's no difference in build or material or quality from this controller versus this. This has just better internals and more features. Even though I won't be using the extra bumper buttons, the hairpin triggers are a nice addition. I don't plan on playing any FPS games with the controller, because I'm just a mouse and keyboard player for FPS. It's handy, you know, and in any games that use triggers like buttons, it's handy. So that's the comparison, really. I don't believe that the controllers are any different in size. I'll open it up. And for reference, this is a Xbox One Elite Controllers Series 1, I guess. I don't know. I honestly don't know what Xbox has been doing with the controller game. And I just know that apparently there's a difference between a series controller and like a one controller or something like that. I don't know. And I did get the white version on the Ultimate 2 this time because it was more widely available, or it had like faster shipping times. And also I kind of like the white, considering how my first Elite controller or better controller than just the Xbox controller was white. So it's kind of like a homage. But yeah, this thing, right, no audio jack if you are on Xbox and need it. Yeah, like I said, this thing is only Windows and Android officially on the website. I don't have a Switch, so I can't even test if it's even able to work on a Switch. I don't have a Steam Deck to see if this thing would work on that thing, because personally, if I had a Steam Deck, I would probably just use a controller as well. I don't think I would be really accustomed to the you know, layout of the actual device. But yeah, as you can see, side by side, there's no difference between this and the Ultimate 2 and the Xbox. Dimension wise, there's really no difference. But as you see, the Elite controller and just the normal Xbox controller is wider, and the handles of the controller pivot out a lot more, so it gives you more space when you're holding the controller, right? Compared to how they're tapered in very fast, so there's not much splay outwards, I guess. So yeah, that does it for the review. I have no grievances with the Ultimate 2. I genuinely have enjoyed it much more than the Xbox version. At the same time, I do want to say that the Xbox version isn't bad. It's just that the Ultimate 2 is just better in every way. If you're on PC and you don't need the Xbox feature being compatible with the Xbox and the headset aux. So yeah, that does it for the video. Any comments, questions, concerns, pop them into chat or the comment section. I already comment back on every single comment, as I have with the last video and my keyboard video. And if you have any suggestions, you know, comment, I guess. If you liked the video, leave a like. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest you subscribing, because I don't know what I'm gonna do with this channel apart from just uploading whatever I kind of want that interests me. So yeah, take care. This is the last time we ever meet. I hope the best. I wish the most fortune, I guess, for you. So, aside from that, have a good day, morning, night, evening, lunch, breakfast, dinner, afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you are watching this. I hope this was informational. I hope this gave you some form of insight, and I hope it dispelled some of the reviews on Amazon. I would definitely watch for the controller to drop to 47 instead of paying full 60. I think 60 is just a lot of money regardless, and that's primarily why I still decided to return it and just buy it again at the $43 price point. Other than that, have a good one, you know? Buy the controller, don't buy the controller. Hate 8BitDo, love 8BitDo, do what you do. Yeah. Take care. Toodles. Whoa!